like to welcome back to Fade to Black our good friend from over the pond, David Icke. David, good morning.
Morning, Jimmy.
How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm very good, actually. Despite the world, I'm very good.
David, welcome back to the program, man. Always good to hear your voice. And these are crazy days indeed that we live in. But I kind of wanted to start here. We always start with a little bit of a laugh with you. You know how I am. This book, and thank you for sending it to me when it came out, Everything You Need to Know, but Have Never Been Told. And when I got the book, I didn't expect to get an encyclopedia set. Okay, it's 700 pages, David. And with your schedule, with what you do, how did you find the time to write this book?
Well, you see, I've had the hands-on healing, and I've had the crystal therapy, and I've had the acupuncture, but I've still got verbal diarrhea. I can't move it. And so I sit at the typewriter, and away I go. Because when I sit here, it's almost like you go into another state of consciousness. It's not that you're channeling it, but there is an electromagnetic field that I sit in when I'm writing that has always been there. And what tends to happen is when I start writing a book, I'll have a title in mind, like I did with this one, and I'll have a map in my mind of where I want it to go. But then we start, and the synchronicity of information, the synchronicity of things that happen to me, things that happen in the world, come together to push me in a direction that the book goes. I've been on this road a long time now, nearly 30 years doing this, and so you do compile a heck of a lot of information in your mind. But every time I write a new book, as with this one, a deluge of new information comes from various sources and directions, and so because of that, I can write big books like this one relatively quickly. It's like if you're walking through a maze and you don't know the way out, then you can be in there a long time. But if there's some force that's opening and shutting doors to push you down the right channels of the maze so you get to the opening, then you can get out of the maze relatively quickly. And that symbolically is what happens when I write the books. The information just drops in my lap and I just weave it together.
The revelations that have gone down this week, which involve not only the biggest tech giants, and we're speaking, focusing tonight on social media, but Google is now in the play. And I had said in my opening statements, David, that if you look at Facebook with 2 billion users, that the world's population is only 7 billion, right? So, and you throw Google into the mix, which is bigger than Facebook. These two companies virtually touch every single person on this planet. The numbers would support that. Are they too big to fail?
They're too big. And what is happening, the revelations about Facebook, revelations in the public arena anyway, not revelations to people that have researched this, and what is happening with Google. Of course, the general public that has not tracked this decade after decade will be kind of, whoa, what's going on? But actually, it's the most predictable outcome you could possibly imagine. I mean, I've been writing about this for years and years and years, that this was coming. This is the scam. And it is a scam. It's a complete scam. First of all, you get the intelligence community and organizations like DARPA, the technological development arm of the Pentagon, just about the most sinister organization on earth. And think of the competition, by the way. And you get them to seed fund the technology and the development of the technology that eventually manifests as what we call Google, what we call Facebook. Indeed, DARPA claims quite openly that it created the internet. Now, DARPA creates things like death rays. It creates things like techniques to target certain genetic groups. I mean, it is horrific. DARPA does not create the internet for the benefit of humanity, nor does it seed fund technology like Apple's Siri and these digital assistant technologies, which are pulling people into a fusion, first of all psychologically and then literally into a fusion with AI. They don't do that because, I know, what shall we do today? I know, let's create an office assistant, a digital assistant, and that will be nice for people. That doesn't actually is how it works. So there's an ulterior motive. And the ulterior motives are all over the place, depending on what area of DARPA you are researching. But let's look at Facebook and Google. So you first of all create these technologies, and then the organizations appear based on those technologies. And you need a cover story. So the usual cover story is a geek and a garage. That seems to be the usual cover story. I think they ought to get more inventive, or we might realize it's all a scam. Right. And eventually these organizations, these social media platforms, these search engines, this search engine, Google, dominates the market fantastically. They appear. And then as they appear, funding is never an object. Money just comes when they're needed. And we're not talking, $10. Can you lend us $10 to the end of the week? We're talking millions and millions of pounds that seed fund these companies at a time when they have no obvious or clear direction in terms of how that money's going to come back in any kind of timescale. So they get funded. They've got the technology, now they get the funding. And then they start to dominate the market. Now, when you're trying to sell a scam, when you're trying to sell something that's really, really bad for humanity, you don't sell what it's really about. You sell a cover story again. And at the start, you have to pull people in. So therefore, don't reveal your hand about where this is really going and has always been planned to go. Put another public face initially as you're building up towards this near monopoly. So you get, isn't it great? We can communicate with people all over the world. Hey, have you seen Facebook today? Facebook's great. You can say whatever you like. And Google, Google, they don't censor you. No, it's really good. It's a search engine, yeah. And then as you read, and this is where we are now, Jimmy, of course, and we've actually passed it. When you reach this point of near monopoly, and the figures you talk about, 2.2 billion in a world of 7.5 billion, then you have you reach the point where you can start to play your hand, the hand that was going to be played from the start, and that is you now so dominate the circulation of information. And indeed, through Google, what information you see and don't see, and of course through what they call ghost banning on Facebook, where they don't actually literally ban you from posting, but they make sure it doesn't go anywhere, so very few people see it. And the censorship now on Facebook, you start to dictate then the plan all along, what people can and cannot say and what people can and cannot see. And there was a line, a very telling line. Everybody kind of missed it, but it was incredibly apt. And it was said by the British Prime Minister Theresa May in the wake of the chemical attack or the agent attack in Salisbury in England, when she was blaming it all on Russia with no evidence whatsoever. But we're in a post-evidence, post-fact society, so who cares about evidence?
Right.
She said there is no alternative to the conclusion that Russia was involved. Now that's the line. There is no alternative to the conclusion. The whole way that this is going, and like I say, has been meant to go all along, is to create a situation where you hear nothing and are able to communicate nothing that does not support the official narrative of whatever subject you're dealing with. So whether it's vaccines, whether it's a political situation, whether it's an attack of gun violence, whatever, you are only going to be able to hear the official narrative. Now, of course, people's behavior comes from their perceptions. Perceptions lead to behavior. It's cause and effect, quite blatantly. Perceptions come from information received. So if you want to manipulate perception, which is what it's all about, you control perception, you control the person, you control global perception, you control the global population, then you have to control the information they receive, which is going to lead them to have the perception that you want them to have. And this is where this censorship is going. We've reached the point where I said on the internet in a video on my website last week, where Silicon Valley is now the center of the greatest concentration of surveillance and censorship power the world has ever seen. And what we saw with Cambridge Analytica was the tip of 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 the iceberg of what happens to the information that Facebook receives. It is a surveillance operation. It is gleaning the fine detail of people's lives. And again, you've got to watch the diversion. So the diversion here is that Facebook is gathering this mass of fine detail information because they want to make lots of money targeting you with targeted advertisements. That's only one level of it. That's the cover story. And yes, they do make lots of money from targeting people because they have absolute contempt for the people that use Facebook. And by the way, the idea that the T-shirt Zuckerberg runs Facebook is a joke. He's a man-child, a little boy in short trousers who looks like a little boy lost when anything happens. You know why? Because he is a little boy lost. And so what we have is a mass surveillance operation to serve the people behind it all, which is the intelligence community and the Pentagon. What happened with Cambridge Analytica was just the tiniest fraction of seeing inside the cesspit that is Facebook and the cesspit that is Google. Now, if you go on from that and you see the systematic coordination, the same time Facebook is on its rampage of censorship against anyone challenging the official narrative in any way, shape or form. So you have YouTube, owned by Google, deleting channel after channel after channel of people that are challenging the official narrative in various ways, some of which have enormous subscriber lists, but they don't care. And because they've reached this point of near monopoly, basically they're looking at you and they're saying, okay, yeah, that's what we are doing that. Yeah, we are censoring information we don't want people to see. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? That's what is happening now. And we need to realize that, the front of this Silicon Valley devil's playground is all for public consumption. The real owners of Silicon Valley, including the massive artificial intelligence aspect of all this, which of course Google and Facebook are in the forefront of as well. Okay. The real owners are not the Zuckerbergs, and they're not the Pages and the Brins. They're the hidden hand in all its forms that is so centralizing the communication of information that an almost incomprehensibly small number of people now dictate globally what people see and don't see. And it's always been planned, Jimmy, like that. And we're just seeing the outcome now. It's no surprise to people like me who've researched this for decades.
And this is the shocking thing that most people don't understand, but it needs to be said. The only reason why we found out about Cambridge, the only reason why Zuckerberg sort of apologized and is about to go in front of Congress and that Parliament over in the UK asked him, the only reason why that happened is because Cambridge got caught.
Yeah.
If they hadn't gotten caught, it would have been a business as usual. And those are the facts. There is no way Zuckerberg would have volunteered this information to the world.
No, of course not. And you see, here's a simple question. If Cambridge Analytica can access 50 million accounts and use that information to target people with political ads to suit their personality, which the information, of course, gives them, and their views. Are we really so fully paid up members of Naivety Anonymous that we don't realize that the intelligence community and the Pentagon networks, which connect with the intelligence community, are not trawling that information? They're trawling all of it. Whatever you've put on the internet, whatever you've said on Facebook, they know about or can access if they choose to access it. This is what we're looking at. And then you look at this enormous data processing operation in Utah, where they are processing information from different sources all over the world, whether it's telephone, email, whatever. We are looking at a global network of surveillance that would make George Orwell wince, shake his head and say, I underplayed it. It was much worse than I thought. This is where we are. And, again, do we really think that George Orwell, real name Eric Blair, who was an insider. I'm not saying that he was a part of the whole conspiracy. I'm not saying that at all. But he was an insider in the sense that he operated in the arenas and with the people that would have known what the long-term agenda was. For instance, George Orwell was taught French at the elite Eton College just outside London, where the royal children go, by Aldous Huxley, who wrote, of course, Brave New World in the 1930s, which again, like Orwell's 1984, has proved to be a stunningly accurate projection from all those decades ago of where this is meant to go, and how it was meant to turn out. And so you have people like Orwell and Huxley, who were not coming purely from their imagination. They were coming from an understanding of where this plan was meant to go, and therefore they could talk about drug techniques, genetic techniques in terms of Huxley, and surveillance techniques and control systems in the case of Orwell that didn't exist and would have been science fiction at the time they wrote the books. And in Everything You Need to Know But Have Never Been Told, and even more so in the book before that, Phantom Self. I quote a man called Dr. Richard Day, who was a big-time Rockefeller insider and an executive of Planned Parenthood, a Rockefeller operation, which of course originally came out of the eugenics movement, which the Rockefellers were big time into. They were one of the funders of Hitler's race purity program, the Rockefeller family, well documented. And Dr. Richard Day shocked a group of pediatricians in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1969 when he was doing a presentation to them, and he asked them to turn off recording equipment and turn off and not take notes because he was going to tell them how the world was going to change, because the group that he was connected to was going to change it. And what he said that night in detail, it has proved to be just stunningly accurate, not just in theme but in detail, all these years later, because one of the doctors, a guy called Dunnigan, Lawrence Dunnigan, he did take notes, and later, when he started to realize that what Day said that night was happening, he did a series of interviews before he died in 2004, I think he died, about what Day said that night. And I published that in detail in Phantom Self, and also quite a lot in the new book where it's relevant. And it is stunning. Richard Day described, Jimmy, in 1969, the internet. The internet that wasn't officially created until decades later. He described a stream of things that are happening now, not least in terms of surveillance. He also said, Jimmy, in 1969, wait for this one, we're going to make boys and girls the same. And which is what this whole transgender explosion is, the idea that it's to be inclusive with transgender people. That's not the reason, that's the excuse. The reason is what Richard Day described all those years ago. Now let's connect the dots to what I said a little earlier. Who created the internet? By their own admission, DARPA.
Yeah.
And you see, as I've been pointing out all these years, there are two timelines. There's the one you see in the public arena, and there's the one you don't see. The one you don't see in terms of technological advancement is light years ahead of the one you do see. So if people look at where we are technologically now, well, if you think that's advanced, you want to see what's coming, and because it's being played out in a specific sequence. So every time they need the next stage of the technological development to take this agenda on, it appears miraculously out of nowhere. You know why? Because it was known about before. This is unfolding and being played out in a sequence, and humanity is being played like a stringed instrument, thinking that it's all random and it's just geeks in a garage coming up with this stuff just by coincidence at exactly the time that that this hidden hand needs that technology to move on to the next stage. So you see, when I hear people saying, "Oh no, you know, oh the technology will never reach this point where we can do this and do that in terms of artificial intelligence. Oh no, artificial intelligence is not advanced enough for that." No, it's not advanced enough in the public arena. But outside the public arena, it's absolutely advanced enough, and it's just a matter of playing it out. So these time scales of when artificial intelligence, for instance, will reach the point where it can take over are way out. It's much sooner than is being claimed, because it already exists. It's just a case of playing it out and finding a cover story. Oh, look, someone's developed this. Oh, really? Oh, what a coincidence. This is the world we're living in. And what people like me do, and what shows like yours do, is delve into this this other timeline to uncover what they don't want people to see. And again, everything connects to everything else. This is why there is this now war on freedom of speech, war on the free circulation of information and free opinion, because the alternative media, although I don't think the alternative media in general goes nearly far enough and even nearly understands the depth that we're dealing with.
No, they don't understand, David. They don't understand. And as great of a job as the alternative media can do, they seriously don't understand. I need to take a break right here. But this is the other thing as we head into the break. It's like we're setting ourselves up, David, for the biggest case of entropy ever in the history of man, right? We think it's going to get more organized and locked down. It's going to get too big, and when it falls apart, it is going to be utter chaos. Our guest tonight, David Icke. David, stay right there. We'll be right back.